My mother gave my room to my cousin and said, "You're an adult now," even though I was paying rent and buying groceries. I stayed silent until I left the house and stopped one payment. The entire house was plunged into darkness. When I came back from work that day, my bedroom door was closed, and 2 bags of my clothes were placed outside. There was a new lock on the door. My mother was standing in the kitchen, as if nothing unusual had happened. Without looking at me, she said, "You're grown now. Your cousin has come to the city. He needed a room." I touched the lock, as if it might open on its own. But it was locked. Inside were my things, my breathing space, the only place where I thought I was safe. I didn't scream. I only asked, "My clothes? My books?" She shrugged. "They're in the bags. You're sensible. You don't even pay rent." I laughed. A short, soundless laugh. I paid $300 every month. The electricity bill was in my name because my mother's credit was bad. I bought groceries. I worked 2 shifts, mornings at a coffee shop, evenings at a grocery store. I didn't say any of that out loud. I just nodded. My cousin was sitting on the couch with the remote in his hand, as if he had lived there for years. He didn't even look at me. The TV was loud. In that moment, I felt like a guest in that house, and not even a necessary one. I spent that night in my car. In a parking lot. It was cold, late November. I folded my jacket into a pillow and stared at the ceiling. An email from the electric company popped up on my phone. "Your payment is scheduled for Friday." I closed the email. The following week, I tried to talk. I said, "I just want my room back. I'll pay." My mother said, "Don't make such a big deal. You're alone. His family." I asked, "What am I?" She didn't answer. I stayed quiet, the way I always had. I picked up extra shifts. I slept on one friend's couch, then another's. I kept my clothes in my trunk. I didn't stop buying groceries for my mother, because habits don't die quickly. But something inside me was shifting. Something was slowly stepping out of the place it had been forced to occupy. On Thursday night, the electric company's auto payment failed. I had turned it off myself. I didn't tell anyone. I just slipped my phone into my pocket and went to work. The next morning, my mother called. I didn't answer. Then a message came through, "The electricity has been cut." What happened? I looked at the screen while cleaning the coffee machine. My hands didn't shake. I replied, "The account was in my name. I don't live there anymore." That day, the house went dark. Literally. The fridge shut down. The heater went silent. The TV screen stayed black. I knew all this because the neighbor told me, the same woman who used to hold packages for my mother. She said, "Your mother is upset. Your cousin was yelling." I said, "I'm sorry." This wasn't revenge the way movies show it. There was no applause, no victorious music. Just a quiet fact. I didn't break anyone's heart. I simply stopped carrying weight that was never meant to be mine alone. A few days later, I met my mother at the coffee shop. She looked tired, like she had suddenly aged. She said, "You punished us." I said, "I only stopped paying my bill." She went quiet. Then she said, "You've become stubborn." I answered, "I've become free." I rented a small room. An old building. 1 window, 1 bed, 1 table. The first night, I turned on the light and just sat there. No lock was against me. I touched the walls to make sure they were real. At work, my manager offered overtime. I said yes. A coworker mentioned that her aunt's apartment would soon have a better unit available. It wasn't cheap, but it was possible. These weren't miracles anyone writes stories about, but life stacks them quietly when you keep moving. My mother called again. This time her voice was softer. She said, "Can we talk?" I said, "Yes. But without conditions." She sighed. "You've changed." I said, "I've learned to see myself." I didn't apologize. She didn't either. We just placed the truth on the table, plain and undecorated. I told her I wouldn't come back to that house. She said she would try to understand. Trying isn't a promise, but sometimes it's enough. Months later, I set up electricity in my new place under my own name. When I flipped the switch for the first time, the room filled with light. I closed my eyes. This wasn't darkness meant to punish anyone. It was light reminding me that staying silent is not always strength, and speaking up is not always noise. I learned that family is sometimes just the people who don't pay your bills, but still claim your space. And that being an adult doesn't mean enduring everything quietly. It means knowing exactly when to stop paying.